And here we are again, junk journalers. I'm Laura from Hyperstamper, and I have another journal to show you for the week of August 1st in my series of 10 going up this week. And as you can see, this is a classic, Little Women. I was so excited to be gifted this book to use. So let me start with the lace and trim on here is not vintage, but I really wanted this to be blue and white. I just think it is such a pretty combination. And the color of this blue is just gorgeous. And it's got this beautiful embossing with the roses. And the Little Women is embossed here. And I added this antique porcelain knob to the side for a unique kind of opening. And even a very pretty vintage button there. Isn't that lovely? So let's take a little look through this 1929 edition of Little Women. I've left the inscription in here because it'd be a sin to take it out, but isn't that wonderful? So Adele Swan, for having outstanding attendance, secondary school attendance. They used to give away books as prizes for good attendance, good behavior, and I just think that's wonderful. So here is the original first full color image in the book. Isn't that beautiful? And of course I left in the very first pages for you to enjoy. Now, there's something that people have been asking me about. This is a bingo card from the 1950s, but it's really different. You'll notice the numbers only go up to 15, so it's called color bingo. So it's a different kind of bingo, but I love the colors and the natural aging. It's just so fun. So I hope you love it too. That's on an antique book page. Some vintage sewing tissue there, which is what I tend to wrap my books in. When you order a book from me, you're gonna find it wrapped really pretty in vintage tissue, sewing tissue. Over here I have a beautiful vintage postcard. Isn't that lovely? And we can see here that this one was from 1914. Isn't that lovely? I love it when there's writing on the back. I know some people want them untouched, but I prefer they have a message on them. Just tells a story. Children's craft page. And this is some antique lace here that I've attached to this page, this little pocket page. And when you flip it over, we just have a couple of little things in here, some 1930s Monopoly money. And this is just a little credit certificate from 1957. Is that fun? That's just a little piece of ephemera that you might enjoy having. And then here is another one of these wonderful wildflower pages that came out of this vintage wildflower book from England. I love it. And my favorite thing of the week is this lovely page here. And that is from the Girls' Own Annual. And this one here has a lovely image of these pretty little birds. I think they look like chickadees. And on the flip side, look at this lovely image of these little children and mom with the gentleman here looking over the fence. Isn't that sweet? And that is from 1915. So I am thrilled to have gotten that book. And I put another Little Women page here. Made the pocket out of that, 1945 dictionary page. And this is actually, I know it looks like a space page, and it is, but it came out of a 1950s atlas, Reader's Digest atlas, and that was the pages on space. This here is from September 1920. And this is the Etude, and it was a publication on everything music. So you've got the New York School of Music, the Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore, Maryland, just all kinds of everything music instruments, ads. It was just really fun, a really fun find for me. And there's one of Pearl Shop's 1950s receipts you can reuse, and a nice vintage French dictionary page. And I put this from a book page here called Call to the Colors. And this is just an antique book page to cover up and give you more journaling space on top of a dictionary page. And that is an antique book page there that I've just folded into an envelope for you to journal on as well. You can add things to these pockets too, which is really fun. More Monopoly money, and made this out of antique ephemera. And that's fun little vintage pattern piece there. Let's keep going. The little clusters I've made. The wonderful country of books. Isn't that wonderful? I I ripped that out of a box too that I had pulled apart. Just another children's story book page. The colors on here are magnificent. Aren't they lovely? And don't miss a page because, oh, that's the French almanac page. Cross the bridge with me. I love that. That's so beautiful. So here I have a 1950s theater arts magazine, and it's got these wonderful ads. Take the time and read them. They are really, really awesome. And in here we have a ledger page from 1960, which is really fun to read through all the different things that they were tracking in their, this is from the Maritimes. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And we have here a little pocket, and in that pocket I'm going to put a postcard from wherever you live, and that will be tucked into here. You just, when you place an order on Etsy, I know where you live because I have to mail it to you. So yes, you'll see a surprise in there. And 1930s music sheet, and that's the Billboard magazine from September 1928. Also kind of an entertainment magazine. They were big into entertainment and there's a lot of publications on that. So these are all about vaudeville and circuses and anything entertainment, anything where you can sell a ticket to. And I've read so many of these, and they're, look at this, dolls for fairs. You know when you would play the games on in the midways, and these were the little Cupid doll prizes you could get. I think it's hysterical. 1928. And there's another one of those lovely vintage full color pages from Glamour and the Hostess. So you'll see one of these in all the journals I make this week only. They're pretty cool. Vintage pattern, vintage music sheet, sorry. I'm having trouble turning my pages. And here's another image from Little Women. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, I just love it. That's such a great book. So many people love that book too. I'm glad. Here's a vintage recipe card. And on the flip side is just some advertisements from whatever companies. Oh no, this is a rare one. It has it on both sides. Oh, a recipe for mayonnaise. Isn't that cool? Okay. Sometimes I surprise myself even. Look at that fun tag. Made for children's book page, 1920s music sheet and some trim. And this is, of course, sewing ephemera, vintage patterns, and a vintage stamp here. Look at this postcard. Okay, so I wrote myself a note here because this came out of a scrapbook that a couple who went on a honeymoon, and they drove from Montreal all the way down to Cape Cod and back. And oh, they had such a good time. But this was in their scrapbook, and I pulled that out of their scrapbook. And that's a lovely little home that they stayed in Cape Cod. And that was a postcard. Not fun. So I'm going to leave that on there so whoever gets this journal knows where that came from. And then this is another one of those wonderful images that are in all of my books this week from the 1899 book Guide to the Opera. And this is another Frau Schumann-Heink. She would have been a very famous opera singer of the day. And here's an image of the garden house, and that also is from a book I've been using this week called America's Garden Book. It is not all pictures, but I did try to get as many of the pictures as I could out of it for this week. And this is a lovely one. Isn't that pretty? You're gonna have so much fun finding all the little surprise things that I've tucked away in here. And you can add your own things to here as well if you like to. A lot of people like to paint in their journals or collage. Lots of room for that. Little book here I made out of dictionary page, and I just added whatever scraps I had from my antique books. I did hand stamp the word kindness here, and I hand stamped on the tea-dyed pages as well. They're the only things in here that are not vintage or antique ephemera. And there is a 1926 journal page. Read the journal on, and then here's a hidden paper clip up here. And then here is a receipt from 1932. And that I think is pretty cool. It's for tea and molasses. Isn't that fun? I love it. Wholesale grocers and importers. So that lives with you now. Okay, and this is a book on antiques. That's an antique book. So I thought that was pretty cool, about a teapot. There's a vintage doily, and that brings us to the end of our book. So I hope you can see that on Etsy. It's going to be posted any minute now, and it's etsy.com/shop/hyperstamper with a capital H, and subscribe so you can see these before they go on Etsy. I'll talk to you soon.